Meanwhile, the holidays are really coming up, and we've got a great gift idea for you Dodger fans out there. Maybe a great idea for a book for life. It's called Dodgers, an informal history from Flatbush to Chavez Ravine. The book takes you back to their early beginnings in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Atlantics, to their move to Flatbush, to Los Angeles, and into the 21st century. And chatting with us to discuss his new book is Author Jim Alexander. He's a sports columnist for the Southern California News Corp. And this is a wonderful book. And I'm just wondering, you know, what led you? I know you're very curious about a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the curiosity about the Dodgers that started this?
Some of it. The origin story on this is probably kind of strange. It was it was born in the back seat of a car, tapping on my iPad on a family trip to Oregon. And I'm going through stuff. I was thinking about pitching a book about a compilation of my columns or what have you. And I'm looking at all this Dodgers stuff, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's a lot here. And there's a lot to dig into. So that's kind of the germ of this idea. And then as I kept going and researching and going back in history, it was fascinating.
Born in the back seat of a car?
Yeah.
You know how many people at home right now are saying, what? Back seat of a car?
I'm not going there. I'm sorry.
Oh, but when you think about it, what surprised you about the things that you found out about in your research?
Well, there were a couple of things, and one of them is something that people kept getting wrong last fall when the Dodgers were playing the Giants in the division series. Everybody's saying, well, it's the first time they played each other in the postseason. It's not. I mean, okay, technically you can say it wasn't the Dodgers, but the 1889 World Series, it's not the World Series that we have now, but the Brooklyn Bridegrooms won the American Association pennant. The New York Giants won the National League pennant. They played in what was called then the World Series. So a lot of people got it wrong. And I felt like I was shouting into the wind, but they played each other in 1889.
Now, throughout the now centuries of Dodger history, what are some of the threads that connect the eras in Dodger history? Because there's so many things, so many years, so many wonderful things that Dodgers have done first.
That's true, but the one thread that I kept coming back to was sign stealing. And we know what happened in 2017 in Houston with the monitor in the dugout and the trash can and the bat and all that. And we know what happened in 1951 when the Dodgers blew a 13.5 game lead, lost the pennant to the Giants in a 3-game playoff, and sign stealing was involved there. What we didn't know, what I didn't know until I started researching this book, is that back in the late 1880s, they had a manager named Bill McGonigal. And he was an ace sign stealer. And he even contemplated finding ways to steal signs electronically. I mean, Brooklyn had just gotten wired by Edison. And the one scheme he had was putting a plate beneath the batter's box. And then when he got the sign for a fastball or whatever, he'd buzz and there'd be a vibration. And he was talked out of that one because somebody told him, well, it's not going to take very long for the other team to figure out what's going on. And then the other one, he was going to manipulate the eyes in a cigarette advertisement beyond the center field fence so a hitter knew what was coming. That one didn't fly because his players mocked him unmercifully. And he decided, no, it's not worth the trouble. But that's one of the things that's kind of an interesting thread that's gone on down through history.
It's really amazing. And you also contend that the Dodgers following has grown increasingly passionate throughout the years. Why is that?
Some of it's success. Some of it may be a change in maybe the makeup of the Dodgers fan base. Maybe some of it is the way games are now. I mean, there's Dieter Rule on the organ, there's a lot of music, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of things to hype the crowd up, and Dodger fans have had reason to be hyped up because of the team's success. It's interesting because they're a true national team now. I mean, you look at the series this weekend in Florida, you know, they've had a ton of Dodger fans. It's that way every place on the road, and it's amazing.
It really is, and with all this history, they've won a lot of games throughout the years. Is the past decade maybe the golden era of Dodger baseball?
I would make that case, and I know that maybe there's some recency bias here, but what they've done the last decade since Guggenheim took over, not only the fact that they've been in the postseason every year, but that they have an ownership that's willing to do what it takes to improve the team. I mean, that to me is evidence that we're witnessing something that is special.
It's absolutely amazing. It's called Dodgers, an informal history from Flatbush to Chavez Ravine. Jim Alexander. Jim, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's a good book, that's for sure.